Hello everyone, and welcome to our video visit with our founder, Dr. Rob Ricciardi. Dr. Ricciardi has spent much of his entire life understanding how genes are constructed and how they're regulated. In fact, early on, Dr. Ricciardi and some of his colleagues pioneered one of the first technologies used in gene mapping. He has multiple patents and publications in the gene sciences. He has been interested in how such small changes in the DNA can have a profound effect on our wellness and aging. Dr. Ricciardi, it's certainly a pleasure to have you with us today.
My pleasure, Sharon. Thank you.
I know that you have such a rich history and certainly an inspiring story that led you to a lifetime of microbiology and certainly led you to the founding of our company. Tell us a little bit about that.
All right. Thank you. I've had a long-standing interest now in understanding the basic mechanisms by which gene expression is regulated. In addition to that, I've always been interested in finding ways to use how basic knowledge in DNA can advance human health. When I look back, I think I can say clearly that my underlying inspiration came from my sister, who had Down syndrome. Now, Down syndrome is a genetic condition in which a person has an extra chromosome, chromosome 21. From the emotional side, my parents, there was a big input from my parents here, because what they had done was create a workshop in the community for Down syndrome children. And they wanted to take these kids out of isolation and bring them into the community. Well, this created tremendous joy in these Down syndrome kids, obviously. Their families were relieved, and the community was thrilled by this, and there was tremendous compassion. It was very, very riveting. I think that on the intellectual side, I can say that my curiosity, really maybe the first question that I was ever asked came from my mother. And she asked me, why is it that my sister isn't supremely talented and an extraordinary person, gifted and can do many, many things, if she has this extra chromosome? And that made me, that question just stayed with me for years. Well, we do know the answer to that today in today's genetics. More genes is not better. That's the short answer of that. So I would say that my childhood basically shaped me by creating a curiosity within me as to how genes work, and also a desire to do something to help other people.
So it's really a heart project as well as certainly an intellectual exercise that brought you to this place.
Right, it is truly a heart and mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So as far as the founding of GeneLink, what led you to do that?
Well, GeneLink was founded with the single goal of enhancing health by applying the advances in genomics that we know today. Specifically, a little more specifically, GeneLink tests GeneLink tests for small variations in the DNA. And this kind of information is very useful in order for us to customize nutrition and skincare products. Gratifyingly, this is now being seen as a success through our independent representatives who very, very much care about health and promoting health. Who could be greater messengers than these folks?
Yeah, so knowledge is power.
Knowledge is
what
power.
you brought to us, but certainly the consumer application of that knowledge is where we can make a difference.
This is absolutely true.
Right.
Yes.
So genetic variations you spoke of briefly there, how does that apply to our DNA assessment?
Yes. Well, let me tell you then about the variations and bring that together. What happens with DNA variations is we can think of DNA as being made up of 3 billion chemical units. You can think of DNA as a ladder with 3 billion rungs on it. Now, approximately every 1,000 rungs, if you were to climb this ladder, approximately could be different from one person to the next. This kind of variation accounts for the major ways in which we are different from one from the other, both on the outside physically as well as many of the internal things that go on with us, within us, our biochemistry, our metabolism, and so forth. So certain of these genetic variations are called SNPs, and they are associated with a variety of biochemical processes. An important one, for example, is oxidative stress.
Yes, oxidative stress.
Yeah.
So just before we jump into oxidative stress a little bit deeper, those genetic variations and those single nucleotides being out of order is really what you were talking about from the very beginning, that one smallest part of our blueprint can make such a profound difference in who we are and how well we age.
Yes, it can.
Exactly.
It can.
So oxidative stress, let's dig a little bit deeper in that, because I know that's where your mind is as far as your study, as far as healthy aging, has a lot to do with oxidative stress.
Yes, oxidative stress, in my opinion, and certainly in the opinion of thousands of other scientists, I would say that oxidative stress is incredibly important, because what it does is it's a way in which the human body manages free radicals that are always forming. Now, we don't want to get into a lot of chemistry, but free radicals are part of life. They will never go away. They're always being made, but they have to be cleaned up. So it's the price you pay for breathing, the air you breathe, it's the price you pay for being alive. But you have to get rid of these. And so, wonderfully, nature has devised certain kinds of proteins, enzymes, that are able to get rid of these radicals. Because if you don't get rid of them, they will cause damage to DNA, to protein, and to lipid. And that, over time, can, in the opinion of many, contribute to aging. So what we do with GeneLink is we have devised a panel of SNPs that look at these particular genetic variations, so that we can get a profile of a person's oxidative stress capability. And then we can devise nutrients and skincare products that can lead to the betterment of a person's ability to deal with this and enhance their health. And we would call it health prevention.
So that's the logic behind our DNA assessment, is looking at genetic variations with various people and then compensating them with ingredients, with well-established science around those ingredients, right?
Yes.
To compensate.
Yes, all of the variations
Yeah.
are very well and profoundly understood in detail. Right, everything that we use.
And
has
so
been
that's
well
the
characterized.
basis for our customized nutrition and skincare. But we also have DNA-targeted products, and that goes into the area of gene expression. So can you talk to us a little bit about gene expression and what the differences there would be?
Okay, this is, let me see how I can do this. Gene expression is, let's talk about DNA. DNA is basically the blueprint of life. The DNA itself doesn't really do anything. It just encodes the information. In order for the DNA to act, if I can put it that way in general terms, it must be activated upon. In other words, it contains the instructions, but something must bring those instructions into being and manifest those instructions. Ultimately, the information in the DNA ultimately becomes turned into protein, and proteins are our action molecules. There are enzymes and so forth. It's a very, very complicated area, how genes are expressed. I've studied it for most of my life, but excitingly, there's a new field called nutrigenomics, in which we can see how actually foods themselves and their metabolites can control genes.
Wow. So obviously some of our products now are, with the genetic science is the basis of everything that we do.
Yes.
And so now genetic variation is the foundation for some products, gene expression, the foundation for others.
This would be fair to say, absolutely.
Excellent, excellent. So ultimately, what is your hope for GeneWise?
My hope for GeneWise is that this new concept will be brought forward, the story of personalized nutrition. In order for this to be heard, it must have a voice, and that voice is GeneWise. What greater messengers could you have than those who are most interested in their own health and would like to convey that message to others? I believe that this new science now of personalized wellness will become commonplace, in the next decade, which will be very, very exciting. And so that is really my hope and my wish.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ricciardi. It's been great to visit with you, this little science chat we've had today. I appreciate you, and I know everyone does appreciate you so much, because ultimately you define who we are. Intellectual property comes from a place of science, no doubt, but our heart comes from a place of service, and you represent that so well, and we thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Sharon.
We are on a mission, as you all know, to help as many people as we possibly can look and feel their absolute best. And we're happy to have you partner with us on this mission. And we thank you so much for sharing this time. And I would like to ask you to always live well and certainly live gene-wise. And I look forward to our next visit. Bye for now.